Only and his guests are not responsible for any losses you may accrue for having weak hands. Where the haters at? Y'all bitches still ain't showed up. And now, right, we got Hex, flawless uptime. People thought this was a joke. Now they're mad at the chart. It's lullaby music, really, right? It's hard to believe that something like this exists. I get it, but you just gotta come to terms with reality. This is Wales Only. Glad you guys can make it out. I'm making some claims that are pretty outlandish, but I can back them up. Boom. End of story. There is no other crypto out there, so don't get it twisted. If you don't understand where you're parking your money, you're gonna pay the consequences for that, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. Boom. We're obliterating everybody, literally. There is nobody else that comes close to what Hex has done. Boom. Oh, it's about to get funky. Funkier than you could have ever imagined. You know, Richard Hart is a boss. Hex is literally the best thing on the planet. It's simple mathematics. Right? The reality is that I want to be rich as fuck. There's only one way to be rich as fuck. That's by sitting on your ass the longest. Yep. That's it. Yep. That's the secret. The Godwell told you. Richard done told you. I done told you. Kareem done told you. Maddie done told you. Everybody done told you. Everybody done told you. Shit, motherfuckers still acting like they don't know. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
100% safe. There's plenty of games left.
Valiant done told you. Yo, everybody said it. I mean, hey, you know what it is, man? Everybody done told you. Yash deep, everybody. My God. Ex-Asians, bro. Everybody. Australians, man. Everybody gets me. Yo, Wendy's done told you. Dollar Club done told you. Everybody done told you. It's crazy. Yo, what's good, family? Hey, happy Thursday to all, because it is popping out here today. Hope everybody's having a outstanding day. Yeah. Things are shaking out there, right? If you're paying attention to anything that's going on, things are moving along and rather expeditiously, right? And you know, whether that's good or bad remains to be seen. As of now, it looks like a bad. Mainly because we don't know what the realm-wide repercussions are going to be. And what I mean by that is if there's going to be a string of false flags, you know, something like 9/11, just in terms of magnitude and impact. Because why not? Right? And ultimately, the goal is to get everybody emotionally triggered to the point that they can get away with whatever. Right? This is the same strategy that was deployed for 9/11. It's the same strategy that they deployed recently for Ukraine. It's the same strategy they deploy every time. I mean, it's 1 + 1 is 2. Simple fact is that because nobody stops anything, it just continues. So that's really just how it works. Because why else would it happen on repeat, right? So these are things that are important to understand. Because it's like the people that sit in these positions of quote unquote power in the political sphere, right? Give me a second, guys. They're just there and they do whatever they're told to do. They just fill a void, right? I mean, that's what it seems like if you pay attention, that they're just filling a void because they're not actively involved in anything. Uh, their narrative is inverse to whatever it was when they were, what is it called? Um, ah, uh, Campaigning on, whatever promises that they campaigned on, whatever they told their constituents, the low level ones, not the ones that gave them money to do whatever they're doing. Whatever they told their constituents, right? They're not doing that. That's literally how it works. They get in there, they get in there, they tell people whatever, to get them on their side mentally, right? Because ultimately nothing changes, right? People do what they want, they get away with what they want. Um, and if they do something illegal, they might or might not get fired. They just stay in office. So it's a rather interesting scenario where people think that they are in the know because media is telling them something, but then it ends up being that they're actually clueless because they're going by what they're being told. They don't actually know anything. So, what's the end result in a scenario like that, right? I mean, nothing. And this is what we see over and over. So, ultimately, the question is what stops it, right? What stops it? And it seems like nothing, but I got to tell you, I disagree because there's a lot of things that don't happen because of public pressure. And I know it doesn't seem like it, but how often does that actually happen? Right? And that's what you got to think about as an individual. Because at the end of the day, nothing's going to stop until it is stopped. Pretty straightforward, right? And the fact of the matter is the severity of the situation is going to continue to balloon until further notice. It's not going to slow down. I mean, let's just. I mean, we're gonna go over all the headlines. That's the main reason I'm streaming it because you got to understand the severity of what's happening. Uh, so these are things. How do you make sense of all this nonsense, right? A lot of the things that are reported are meant to not be of benefit to you in terms of your comprehension, right? For example, today, uh, in New York City, I guess, or in DC, I don't know where this person lives. The feds raided the home of New York City mayor's Eric, New York City Mayor Eric Adams's fundraising chief. So the individual that raises money apparently for Eric Adams, who is the mayor of New York City. The feds raided that person's home. It's a female, Brianna Shuggs or whatever. I don't know how to say her name. Why would they be turning on themselves? That's the question that comes to mind when I see headlines like that. Because per what you hear from them, everything is in order, right? Everything's in order. Everything is hunky dory. Everything is copacetic. So, where do things go from here besides another level, a continuing series of escalations, right? Because that's ultimately what we're seeing. This started out as a supposed attack on Israel, apparently. That's how this started out, right? Now, I don't know about you guys, but I remember all the stuff that was plastered on TV when Iraq and Afghanistan was going on. Whether it was real or not remains to be seen. I know some of the stuff in Iraq was real and some of the stuff was not. For example, the beheading videos were definitely not real, period. Because those videos, and this is how dumb people are. They basically, they basically attest to the fact that in the Middle East at that time, the Taliban or whoever, Al Qaeda or whoever the terrorist org was, had people in orange jumpsuits like they were in the US. Now, I don't know if anybody ever caught on to that, but that literally makes no sense. Now, that's clue number one, that it's a fraud, right? So that's pretty much it. What more information do you need from a logic perspective? You don't need anything else because they're not going to have anything like that, period. Like, it just makes zero sense. So, you got to ask yourself, well, why the onslaught of information? Why is this so important? Why is this so relevant? Why is it imperative that everybody believe a certain narrative? That's what you got to start asking yourself when you come across certain information, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to ensure that the information you're processing is quality information, right? Because our perception of the world is, our minds are like a computer, right? So the information we put in is going to generate an output, right? So we got to make sure that all the information we put in terms of, storing it and analyzing it and making sense of it, we got to make sure that it actually adds up to what makes sense, right? Because, one thing that's happening that you really don't hear a lot of people talking about, just from a privacy and quality of life perspective, is artificial intelligence. Never mind the money you can make and all that BS. We get it. We got it. Cool. But how does it change and impact your existence, right? Because now you have all these different nexus of where you can be tricked, right? And that's important because you don't know them all, especially if you're not looking to educate yourself in certain respects, right? So, how do you know that what's being put in front of you is valid? I mean, at this point, you really don't know ever, unless you're a student of what is happening technologically speaking. And that's difficult for some people because they're busy living life. They think they got better things to do than care about what's happening in the real world. right? And you know, at the end of the day, that's their prerogative, and they will suffer the consequences of their inactions, right? But if you're trying to make sense of things and you're trying to understand why certain things are happening, you know, you got to look at a lot of different vantage points. You got to know some history, you got to know some stuff. It's not going to just make sense because it's not supposed to. And people have a hard time accepting that. Rightfully so. You know, you're used to being spoon fed everything, and you know, thinking that that is what's true, and it's, you know, it's the complete opposite, unfortunately. So you have to learn to unlearn what you think is the way information is acquired, right? And this is why I can literally, like, I don't watch TV. I don't know. I don't have a clue about commercial stuff because I don't engage in that. But I know everything that's actually going on in the world. Most people cannot make that claim, and that's insane because they get everything from TV, right? And there's a difference in having an understanding of the world when you choose information and assessing it versus just being spoon fed it. And you know, formulating an opinion based on fact, right? Because is it really an opinion if it's based on fact? Nah, if you can prove it, right? It's just you're not there, you're not involved, you might not have documentation to substantiate whatever the claim, blah blah blah, right? So these are things that, how do you make sense of that, right? You can't um, think that there is nothing to do as far as analyzing information that's fed to you via centralized parties. And that's primarily because at the gist of, you know, the reality in which we lived, you got to realize that, yo, what the fuck? Anyway, information is only as good in that so far as the quality upon which it resides, right? So, can it be confirmed? You know, is it verifiable information? You know, and if it is verifiable information, how is it verifiable? Right? Do you need to dig up like text, articles, reference sources? I mean, you know, is there legal documentation that's required to be shown, or is there some legal technicality that allows you to understand that this thing is true versus it not being true because you don't have an actual document that, like, all these things are important. You know, it's not just the narrative, because at the end of the day, we're entering a whole new level of fuckery. And if you're not in tune with what's going on, you're gonna get left behind. And you know, it's not everybody's job to school you on everything. You got to start doing your own research because you're not going to know what information is being given to you that's valid and what's not. You are not going to know that. So if you are not going to know that, how can you rely on anything that's coming from a centralized party when everything that they feed you is essentially hogwash, right? I mean, that's what's true. So how do you not realize that you have to do some do some analysis when you come across information, right? Because we're used to not doing that. We're used to accepting whatever the narrative is and moving along. And that's the number one mistake that people make. Because at the end of the day, how valid is the information that you're predicating a thought on, upon which you're making some decision, right? And I think people really underestimate or undervalue the reality of of how that information exists in the world, right? Because we're just so used to accepting information. Um, and that's just not how it really works, and it doesn't work primarily because how can you know the quality is valid or not? I mean, you really have to know, right? You really have to know. It's like being on eBay and buying um, sneakers or clothing. How do you know that what you're buying is good? I mean, if you don't know what quality looks like in an image, assuming you're even being shown an image of the actual item you're purchasing from a random third party, because you're not even buying it from the actual fabric manufacturer at this point, right? Odds are, if you're buying it on eBay, you're buying it you're buying it such that to get it cheaper, or because you can't find it anymore on the streets or something, right? There's a whole reason for it. So, with that being said, how do you know that what you're buying is valid? Right? You got to do some quality control, some quality checking. It's literally the same thing with information. I don't give a rat's ass if Fox, MSNBC, or whoever the hell is giving it to you. Even if you're getting on Twitter, you got to do an assessment of this information. And if you don't know how to do that to then confirm that, yeah, this is valid, that's not, well, you're going to have a very rough time moving forward, because, people aren't out here to give you the play by play on everything that's happening every day. You got to learn to assess, because shit is moving at the speed of light. And given what's happening now, I've talked about this before, how it could go down, right? And here we are, literally on the doorstep of how things could be, right? And that's important to understand, because why would that matter if it didn't otherwise? Why are we talking about it? Why do we care? We got a million reasons to not give a rat's behind, right? We got a million reasons. Life is good. Uh, I got this, I got that, all the material things. But guess what? All those material things disappear in a flash of an instant. They don't matter. They're momentary. They are a flash in the pan. And that is what's true. How do you justify something that doesn't make sense, but yet that is what everything is based on? Right? I mean, let's think about that. We are taught to believe that ABC is true because XYZ said so. Done. But that's just not how it goes. That's just a small piece to the big puzzle. And that's something that people need to wrap their head around, right? Because at the end of the day, that is what's true. You need to find a way to be able to assess the information that is being thrown your way, because it's not going to stop flowing. The world isn't going to stop changing. Just like the t-shirt rate hasn't stopped etching higher, right? While everybody else keeps playing themselves. So funny. It's things like that. People are misled by incorrect and misconceived notions. They don't think things through to the point that they make sense to their benefit consistently, right? Why would you engage in an activity that's going to prove fruitless? But people do it, right? People do it time and time again. Let's look at some charts real quick, because actually let's look through some data. Let's look through some information first, so then we can make sense of the charts, because that is really the way to do it. Now let's look through this KBL, yada yada. Let's see here. Um, Come on. All right. All right. Let's start here. Just to go with the most recent economic data. And just gloss over it really quick, because it's pretty interesting. And yesterday we had a Fed meeting, and the Fed kept interest rates unchanged. Yesterday was the first, right? Yep. Um, and the market was 95% at no change in rates at the time. And that's what the Fed went with. They went with no change. And the market is now proceeding such that essentially rates are down, dollars down, and risk prices are up, risk valuations are up. And what that means is that the party's back on, right? We're at 5% rates across the board, or near, depending where you are on the curve, right? You're near that. Um, and that's kind of what they want, right? They kind of want to lull the crying baby to sleep until they're ready to wreck it, right? Wreck the rocking chair or whatever. So 30 years at 4.83%, 10 years at 4.68%, 5 years at 4.64%, 2 years, 2 basis points, a basis points and a half below 2%. So it's 4.985%. 1 year is the only one that's above 5% besides the Fed funds, which is sensible, right? That makes sense. 1 year moving forward, we're looking at about 5 basis point difference from today's rates, which is essentially saying unchanged, right? And if we're taking into account the most recent action, hold on, here we go. That's the sauce, right? That's the sauce. So this is the summary of the Fed decision yesterday. Fed leaves rate unchanged for the second straight time. The Fed will assess extent of additional tightening. Tighter credit conditions continue to weigh on the economy, which is the reason why they are essentially keeping rates flat for now. Um, the Fed will continue to assess additional information, and what that means is they're just going to see how the market reacts to what they're doing. Um, and yeah, that's how it goes. They keep harping on this, and we all know this is hogwash because anybody paying attention to anything understands that we are way above that, right? So, what does that 2% valuation really mean? That's the question, right? What does that really mean? And all that, and this is just my opinion here, because this is what I see the market doing, right? Because that's all we can do. All we can do is go off of the market, and that's it. We cannot pretend to know more than the market. We could pretend to assess what the market has correct or not, and have an opinion and go against the market. We can do that all day, but we cannot pretend to know more than the market, right? And that's pretty much it. So 1 + 1 is 2, right? So now we know that the Fed is really just pausing, right? They still intend to continue to tighten credit conditions because all they're saying is it weighs on the economy. They're not reversing their stance on rates and where they are at the present point in time. Because if they did, they'd cut. Straightforward. But they're not. They're holding things steady and claiming that their target remains 2%. Right? And this is why people are now that are caught short the price of US Treasury products are not feeling great today because they were positioned for the pain in terms of rates to continue moving higher, and the market was positioning itself for a turn. And that's what materialized, right? And with that comes all these other things, such as um, a jump in everything. I mean, interest rate prices went up. Gold is near 2,000 and it's up on the day. Crude is about the only thing that pulled back, but now it's back up to 2.5%, 2%. I think commodities are down. Hold on, 'cause I haven't really looked. Yeah, that's got it. Yeah, they're somewhat down. Jesus. So the food stuffs, what you eat, corn, oats, uh, sugar. Oh, even OJ is down. Wow, it's crashing now. About time. That thing was at like $4 or something, 40 cent. I don't know. I mean, you got to trade on a special exchange for that one. It's not worth it. So not many people even have access to that market unless they specifically trade those products anyway. Anyway, coffee's up, meats are up in general, um, chocolate's up. But yeah, looks like OJ's definitely about to come back to earth. Huh, I'll think about that one. Yeah, chocolate's up. Soybeans, it looks like they're up. Let's see what the chart looks like. Nah, might be some bottoming action down here. So why am I even harping on the costs when we all know that everything's expensive? Well, that's the reason why, right? We have to understand why things are priced uh, outside, right? When we go outside, we need to understand why things don't line up with the narrative. And I'm trying to help you guys understand that, right? Because their target remains this apparently elusive 2%, which isn't elusive at all, right? However, this is the perception: hawkish but cautious, right? And this is causing the market to reverse the valuation of risk assets to be one that things are not as bad as perceived. So prices are reversing, right? And this is how the market reacts to news and to information. It prices in the future, right? So when we're looking at the prices of commodities and goods and things like that, we got a visit. What's going on, homie?
Yo, what's going on, Wells?
Chilling, brother. How you doing?
Oh, fantastic. Just ran away from the plantation for a minute,
Nice, nice, nice.
You
Very
know.
nice. Yeah.
I figured let me chop it up with you for a few.
Appreciate you
Salute
coming
to
on,
you.
brother.
Salute to the chat. Yo, man, keep building, man. And I'll see if I could add a couple satoshis. You know what I'm saying?
Or appreciate you coming on, brother. So check it. All I'm talking about right now, basically what's causing the market to do what it's doing, right? And it's eventually like all this stuff eventually trickles into crypto. It never seems like it, but it does. And we'll get to that eventually. But you got to understand all this other stuff because people got to remember crypto matters, but it only matters in as so much as the people that want it to matter, right? And what that means is we're already here. So what we think is going on doesn't matter so much. It's what the people outside the market think is going on because they're the ones that are going to bring in the money that's going to drive up prices higher. All that's happening with the people that are already in the crypto market is they're just moving money from A to B.
Mm-hmm.
They're not really doing anything. So unless they're bringing in new capital or they're generating new capital, right? It's not really they're not really doing anything. Literally, monetarily speaking, they're not. So we got to look outside the crypto sphere to understand what's going to actually end up pumping this thing because we gotta look at what's happening in order to understand why we should even be here for the long term anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because why did crypto go from 0 to 69,000? That wasn't a fluke. That shit took years to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding that is critical in understanding all of this. Because if you don't understand all of this, that's just gonna seem like a fluke. And
Right.
that's not a fluke. That happened for a reason. And that's why everybody's talking about Bitcoin now and all of that, right? So much so that you're hearing these institutions and these big businesses talking about Bitcoin, bro. Like they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
get in there. They're not trying to wait. And they feel like now is the time, right? And that's what's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now is the time. They feel like hell, we work again. Gonna file for bankruptcy. Like, let's get the hell out of here. I don't know what's going on. You know what we work is, bro?
Say that again.
Do you know what we work is?
I can't say that I do.
Yeah, it's one of them. It's one of them companies that does the office leasing. So they like they'll like rent a building to like rent
Uh-huh.
the offices in a building.
Oh wow, that's
Exactly.
a
Sounds
thing. I
dumb.
didn't know that even
Yeah. Well,
existed, man.
well, that's how. Well, that's where we're at in terms of the economy.
That had to
'Cause
been post Charlie 19, right? Because I
no, 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 no. That's post
no.
2008.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that shows you how bad shit is, though, right? Because you didn't even know that was a thing. Because that was never
No,
a thing.
I didn't know.
It was never a thing, and this is why I like having people on that just ain't really in it. Because it's these little anecdotes, like that little thing right there. That takes something a normal person a long time to learn. Because they're not involved in real estate. They're not looking at debt markets. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. They just doing whatever they're doing. And that's it. Right? So
Right.
when somebody such as yourself discovers something like that, That does not make any sense because that's the key.
Right.
That's the key. It's not that you didn't know, because that's irrelevant. It's the fact
Right.
that now you know and that shit don't make no sense. Because why is
So
money there?
so they're renting, someone's renting a space, or to so the space could be rented again.
Yeah. They rent the building and they rent the units within the building.
They rent the building, and so they're like subletting.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes. On scale. At
On
scale.
scale.
Yeah. Yep.
But then when
But
you
you
scale
can't
it
do it.
down, we
You
can't
know.
do it.
And not in New York. We can't do it in New York. Like that's a no. But in
Back
other
in the days,
places
they
you
used to
can.
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Other places you can, but New York nowadays you can't because they got the real estate market on smash over
Oh
there.
wow.
But look at that, right?
And that's legal.
And that's legal. Exactly. So it's all these things because for you to not be able to do something like that, in New York they make a big deal out of Airbnb and all that shit. Like you
Yeah.
probably know,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is like you wouldn't know all this other shit was going on, how they be acting on this other side
Right.
because you, the individual, oh no, you can't make no money. What the fuck are you thinking?
Right.
Nah, 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 nah. We gonna shut this Airbnb shit down. We can't have that.
Right.
However, our homies are gonna fucking rent buildings and then
Right.
rent it to you motherfuckers.
Right.
And y'all gonna pay for that shit. Thank you. And they call that free market capitalism.
Right. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
had
Well, I
no
was
idea.
right.
I
Right.
had no idea, man.
Man, welcome to America.
Oh
welcome,
man.
welcome to America. Yeah, thank you for the comment. This is timely. And look, this is a company that was valued at 47 billion the other day.
Wow.
Now it's half that.
Wow.
And that's as of yesterday or whatever. We don't really know if it's lower or higher, but it's disgusting, my mans. The
Wow.
stuff that's going on out here, yo, if people really looked, they would be like, what the fuck? Just like you are right
Yeah, and what are we
now.
doing? Like exactly. What position do you? Because if you don't know, you don't know what you don't know, and
Precisely.
things are going to continue to operate a certain way. And since you're out of the loop, you don't know what you could take advantage of and what you could dismiss.
Yep.
Unless you're in whatever space learning right about some of these things. And because I was in real estate years ago, but I got fleeced by these bankers back in
Yeah, yeah.
2008. I got caught in that mess,
You know how that
and
goes.
right, and I just that left a bad experience in my mouth, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna table this. Too much stress,
Hmm.
and
Oh yeah,
and
it gets hectic. It gets hectic. In
it
New
gets
York
hectic.
is a whole nother level in New York. It's a whole nother level.
Wow.
Hmm.
And you're small, like at a small level, you're just trying to be a owner, a homeowner, whatever, maybe rent
Yeah.
a couple properties, blah blah blah.
But you're
But you
dealing
got to
with
jump
big
through hurdles.
dogs. You
Yeah,
dealing with big dogs. You're not dealing with another homeowner in most cases. Not anymore. Like that shit is over.
I ain't dealing with corporations, man,
Yeah,
entities.
yeah. Like
You
it's all,
know,
and that's spreading across America now. It's not even uncommon anymore. You
right?
know what I mean? And how do you make sense of that? It's like everybody's like, fuck it, whatever. You know what I'm saying? No, nobody
Correct.
cares. Nobody's talking about it. And these are the things that matter because ultimately it impacts you and your future.
That's right.
Because
You
guess what? That pricing power is now completely out of your hands. It's in the
right.
corporation's hands.
And then
So
you writing out, if you renting space or renting a home, you paying rent to BlackRock. You know what I mean? Like that's
word. Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah. That
That's
ass.
not going to be unusual, right? That's
It's already common. In the West Coast, common. In New York, common. In many markets, Tampa, common. There's many markets, bro, that we can literally Google this information and be like, where is Berkshire Hathaway, the biggest property owner? Where is Blackstone, BlackRock, the biggest property? You can Google this info. This is not even news. It's just a matter of you seeing that it's actually happening because you ain't never heard of no Berkshire until
Right.
the other day talking about no real estate. What?
Right. Right.
Never happened. Then after 2008 is when it happened. See, and so it's just been a systematic demolition.
Hmm.
And, it's hard for people to see because they're just trying to get through it,
Yeah,
you
day to
know?
day. They just
Yeah.
trying to pay for groceries, man.
Yeah.
They just
So I
trying to
get
pay
it
for.
because the 2008 was a bitch for me too, but that's
Yeah.
exactly why I went flip mode.
Yeah.
That's what turned on my switch to the point where I'm like, hold on, what is all this?
Yeah.
All this and all that led me to knowing all this stuff I know now, and I be teaching people
Right.
like because it didn't make no sense. It
Yeah.
didn't. It didn't. And it started with me trying to get into real estate and not being able to because I understood the market was saturated. Bro, when I went to take the when I went to take the what's it called? The
The sales license.
yes, the class for the test to take the sale for the class. When I went to take the class to take the
Yeah.
test,
Yeah.
yo, that joint was standing room, son, for like
Yeah.
four out of the 7 days. It was insane. I'm like, what am I thinking here? Does this even,
Yeah.
even then I understood it was crowded. This is, the market was crowded.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like what was
Yeah.
I thinking? You know what I'm saying? Like I was playing myself type shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And understanding that that's what was going on was important at the time
Yeah.
because a lot of people didn't realize that. They just went in. And for some people, that was the thing to do, and for others, it wasn't
Right.
because they didn't have the network, they didn't have this, they didn't have that, something. They didn't have something, So, and real estate is really all about who you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really what you know. So that is also very critical to understand if you're trying to enter that game. You got to find ways to build relationships and have a long
Yes.
term point of view.
Yes.
Really,
You
really,
hit it
really,
on the nose. You
yeah.
you hit you hit it on the nail right there because I did the same thing too. After that, it's crazy. Right before I went through my bad experience with real estate, I figured let me take the course to also uh take the exam to be a salesperson. And a couple of classes were very interesting. You had instructors who were, they're in the business. They're either
Right,
attorneys, mortgage brokers, commercial lenders, or whatever, but they were given extra information in those courses that you are not privy, that's not available for the public. Like
right,
regular people cannot have access to the information unless, like you said, you have a relationship with someone who's already in the industry. And that kind of, and I could still use some of that information to this day if I was interested. And that sort of like allows you to have an edge,
right.
because if you don't know, you're just like anybody else. Just like we're in crypto now, we have an edge above so many.
People don't even
Above
have a clue, but
Right.
but we understand that though because we've been around. Most people
We've
don't
been
really get
around.
that. Yeah, most people don't get that.
Even now today, and just an example of the edge that we understand. Something is happening with a certain whatever project. They had a front end issue or whatever, because their front end was getting attacked. But that's not new.
Nah,
DDoS has been happening since I
forever.
can remember, back in 2017. Like, welcome to crypto, right? Like, welcome
Hmm.
to what goes on. That's not new. That's par for the course. And how you deal with that, you make your. I'm not giving the secret sauce and open there like this to anybody, because I'm not. I'm just a participant. But
Yeah,
I've
word,
learned
word,
how
word.
people resolved it. And
Word.
that's what you do. That's what you go through. Your growing pains. Real estate, crypto, whatever it is, and not give up. Because if you have industry, industry players that are on the sidelines talking about Bitcoin, get ready, because I'm already seeing it. 100K,
Exactly.
150K. I'm seeing people come out of the woodwork talking about top 5 altcoins going 1,000x. Yeah, I'm seeing that type of vibe now, right? Like,
Hmm. Out of
so,
nowhere.
so this is how it begins, right? The brewing is the storm is
It was
forming.
it was the bull market the bear market the other day.
Right, right.
That's it. It's over, baby. Get ready.
Get ready. They're not identifying what you're talking about and you're pointing out from the macro economics and the different aspects of the economy that affects why people are saying now
Right.
get ready for Bitcoin. It's just here's a nice thumbnail
Right. Right.
with
Right.
my 10 coins, my 10 arbitrary coins,
Good
right?
luck.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Misinforming the people, man.
Yeah. Because I'm being very specific. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
everybody else like, whatever. We're just gonna toss this out here.
right. We're gonna feel through this, feel through.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Not worry
If
about
it's poo
nothing.
poo, it's poo poo. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's it, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro. Cause it really matters. That's that aspect of why why is this guy going through all this damn information just to say buy A B C D D D blah 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 whatever, right?
Hmm.
Why does it matter? Well, it matters because you got to understand why when that thing don't go the way you think it's supposed to, and not understanding that
Right.
is the key.
Yeah,
Because if you don't get that, you're gonna get left behind,
you're gonna get left behind.
big time. Yeah.
And look, we're getting left behind. Well, I'm certainly getting left behind because I didn't know WeWork was double taxing like their
Yo.
tenants. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know things like that were going on.
Oh yeah.
Right, and this happening to people right now in our shanty town. Like folks are getting triple, quadruple taxed, like
Word up.
without without being forced to do. They just will. Let me jump out the
They
window.
doing
I
it
got no
willingly,
patience.
but
Willingly,
that's that manipulation aspect though. You know what I'm saying? That's because they don't know no better, and they're about to learn though.
man.
Yeah, they're about to learn. They
You
definitely
know,
about to learn because it's real out here. And,
yeah,
nobody's playing no games. They taking them for everything they got. So
yeah. Everybody's struggling. Like my wife, where she works, she was telling me everybody's struggling. Like her colleagues, she in healthcare, so her colleagues
oh,
are just. Some of
wow.
them are going days without meals. Some of them are bringing meals to share with each other. Like that level
What?
of struggling. Yeah, man. Like I'm not laughing to laugh. I'm just, laughing because it's
Wow.
crazy. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's and you talk this is working class. Like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
working class, we
Wow.
struggle to just have lunch during while you're working, feeding people, well, helping patients.
Right,
You
right.
know,
Yeah, that's
Some of
insane.
them are raising doing charitable events like clothes just so they can wear because they have uniforms they gotta wear and some can't afford to get more than one or two uniforms. So some people chip in, donate clothes to one another. So, like it's healthcare.
Right.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, man.
They act like they be
It's
paying them people too. That's crazy.
yeah, they do. They act like they're paying, but what they're paying is going straight to vendors, services, merchants, bill collectors. What we keeping from getting a
Oh
little
yeah, yeah, yeah.
measly.
Nothing, nothing, nothing,
What we keeping?
nothing. I ain't keeping nothing.
You
Not at
know?
all. Yeah, not at all. And that's what's crazy, right? It's like not keeping anything, and psh, who cares?
And who
Nobody,
cares?
nobody cares. And that's why it continues to happen. Sadly.
Yeah,
right? Because how do you stop something that you essentially can't stop,
you can't stop.
right?
I mean, shout out to the petition people and all that, but out, you know, it's a lot of us don't even know about what's going on in this space. We just trying to pay, trying to pay a way just to get by every day. That's it. Like it's
Yep.
just or earn a way to get by every day. I mean, we don't. Many
Yeah, I
people don't
mean,
have it like that, man.
yeah, nah, a lot of people are stuck and don't realize that the way out is in their head already.
Right. Mm,
You know what I mean?
mm,
Right?
mm,
I mean, that's the reality of most situations, right?
mm-hmm.
Because it takes understanding. Like it takes a lot. And how do we're going through all this information. Like the Treasury Secretary is saying that a full separation of US and Chinese economies would have disastrous effects globally. Now, why is that? We already lived through that.
Yeah.
And we're already suffering the consequences of that instance of occurrence,
Mm-hmm.
because that is what's causing these prices to be out of control.
Mm-hmm.
The supply, and that's called a supply side destruction, basically.
Okay.
So if prices are down or flat year on year, which is essentially what the claim is, then why do prices continue to go up? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Must be the supply side. And when you start looking at the bigger picture and you start seeing all the weather and this and that, all these catastrophes and natural disasters and all these things that are happening,
Mm-hmm.
on top of all of the destroyed supply chain, like a lot of businesses shut down during Rona and all of that.
Right.
So, oh, and look at this. Las Vegas casino workers set November 10th deadline for a strike that could disrupt 18 casinos. Now that's in Las Vegas. There is no other economy in Las Vegas except casinos.
Right. Right. And the prostitution, but that's another story.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's all related, bro.
Right. 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 Right.
There is nothing without casinos. There is no
Yeah.
Las Vegas without casinos. And
That's
if
right.
if you don't understand that, not you per se, homie, but the
Right.
general public, go watch the movie Casino.
Right.
Like there you go. That's your history lesson.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the
Yeah.
funny thing. We already know the information. We just
Yeah.
don't know we know.
Right.
And yo, once you start, and how you think I figured all this out, bro? I know all the fake stuff. Plus, you come across things that you're like, huh? It makes you turn your head a little
Mm-hmm.
slanted ways. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? And when you turn your head a little slanted ways, that means there's some truth there, and you just can't
Mm-hmm.
see it yet. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
This Fordham and Webster traffic is legit. But yeah, man.
uh,
Like it's real out here, man. And look, mortgage rates finally fell for the first time in 8 weeks. Imagine 2 months. Interest rates for home loans are at 8%, maybe sub 8% now. But
wow.
imagine that. Imagine 8% interest on a $600,000 shitty ass home. That's New York City right now.
Yeah.
And that's if
Look,
you got perfect credit. That ain't even what really people are paying. If you got bad credit, you paying a lot more than that.
a lot more. They got me. Back then, like almost 20 years ago, they got 2006. That's not 20 years. My math is trash. 17 or so, 17 years. They got me 9.7% interest rate, subprime loan. They got me bad, and my credit was A1. So they saw me coming.
Oh
I
wow.
fed a team of people, and I just was left holding a bag. of L's. But it was all a learning experience, man. But yeah, 9.75% interest rate, and I thought I was doing something,
Right.
and they were making me believe I had a deal,
And
and
and that was when rates were 2-3%.
yeah, yeah,
So imagine what people are paying now.
yeah, exactly.
12-15% easy.
Yeah, it's trash, man. It was
Easy.
easy, easy.
I
It's not
mean,
easy if you love owning things like that and maintaining. That's all. That's
yo,
good, but it's not easy, bro. Like
nah. It
not easy at
costs
all.
it when you're dealing with the physical asset, it costs to maintain. It's not
Yeah,
free.
yeah.
Let's
Cost to
see what's
maintain
going on here.
taxes.
Yeah, all of that.
You know,
All of that. It ain't free. Let's see what else.
unforeseen.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
unforeseen expenses. That's right, because there's a
Mhm.
property. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be
Mhm.
unforeseen costs, maintenance, and stuff like that. Fair wear and tear. You
Mhm.
got to have money aside just for that alone.
Mhm.
Americans spent money at the fastest rate in nearly 2 years last quarter.
Wow.
Is it that they spent, or is it that they really are spending more, or is it that everything costs more?
Everything costs more, man.
That's right. But look at how they frame it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, everything is so good, motherfuckers is just spending, baby.
Right.
False. But that's how they like to frame it.
Mhm.
And these are things that are important to understand because you, the individual, how do you assess your position in reality? It's based on these headlines.
Mhm. That's right. That are misleading.
Yeah, it's entirely misleading because look at your story moments ago where, yeah, it was all good because you thought you was swindling the system with a 9% rate.
Mhm.
Turns out you was paying 3x
Yeah.
or 2x, whatever it was at the time for a
Yeah.
mortgage rate. I don't know. Whatever it was at the time, right? Because that's what it's based on.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that is ultimately what forces people to have to reassess what they think they know, because
Yeah.
that's how we all start. We all start thinking we know some shit, and then
Right.
reality shows us different. Look at it. Home
Right.
ownership is now unaffordable in 80% of U.S. counties per
Wow.
Atom. If you don't know what Atom is essentially this data base of real estate information. So across the U.S. So it's not free. So they do a lot
Mhm.
of work to have somewhat accurate data because real estate is difficult. Some venues or jurisdictions, excuse me, have good data that you can collect. Some is more difficult. You have to go to the courthouse and plug away,
Mhm. Mhm.
manually. So, shout out
Right.
to them because that it ain't free, it ain't cheap, and it's worth the money if you deal
Mhm.
with that side of business and make money that way.
Mhm.
Don't expect the same raise you got last year per Bloomberg. They're already
Wow.
talking you into being poor. It's funny,
You
son.
see?
Yeah. Remote work also saves employees about a year, whatever. $900 billion in Canadian mortgages will renew from 2024 through 2026. Now, what you might or might not know is that these mortgages were made during the zero interest rate policy era,
Okay.
5 to 6 years ago. How do we know that so surely? Well, odds are it's a 10-year to 30-year mortgage, and odds are that it's a 5 to 7 year balloon. What is it called? Adjustable rate mortgage
Mhm.
on a home loan. And
Mhm.
why can you assume that? Because those are standard in the industry. That's why. And all you gotta do is do a little research, and you come discover that, and boom, you just knew something you didn't know. You're welcome.
Mhm.
So if you subtract 5 minus 24, right, you're gonna get 19. And if you subtract 7 minus 26, you're gonna get 19. So that's where I
Mhm.
get that number from.
Okay.
Um, so if we're now talking about an era where rates were 3 to 4%, right, for mortgages at their
Mhm.
lowest, right? I mean, we're talking about $900 billion is about to be repriced higher by at
Wow.
least 2 to 3 times that. What's a Canadian? Let me see. Hold on. Let me look this up. My other Canadian mortgage rates. Let's just find a generic number. I'm not getting a good value here, but it's looking like it's 7, 8%. Because what they're giving me is like an insurable 25 year. You know that's going to be lower because you're going to be paying more in terms of
Mm, right.
dollars.
Over time.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's looking like 7, 8% is the lowest end, right? So an average person is probably getting charged 2x that.
Wow.
Yeah, because their credit isn't going to be phenomenally good, right?
Wow.
So the risk has to be justified, and that's why people end up paying exorbitant interest rates that seem relatively low,
Hmm.
but when you compare it relative to what somebody else is paying, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because how do we go from the base rate being 4 or 5% to somebody paying 9, 10, 12%?
Hmm.
I mean, that's almost insane. Boomers are really facing, like, they're really going through it
Yeah.
because
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
they don't have no way out.
For
Like,
sure.
these people are stuck on a lie.
Yep.
Like, they're really in a situation where there's just, they, like, these people ain't never gonna retire.
Nope.
Never.
Not the way that things are going. Yeah. No.
Nah,
Mm-mm.
nah.
Mm-mm.
So these are things like, that, like, all this stuff impacts the broader economy.
Hmm.
And this is why ultimately, you got to see that people are going to have to find value in crypto.
Yeah.
There is no other way around it. They're not going to be left with any other choice
All right.
because the average person has nothing else. They don't have stocks and bonds to fucking go sell.
No.
They don't have anything. They
No.
literally don't have anything. And the downside to the people that are going to come here is that they're going to find a bunch of scammers and fraudsters that's going to screw them over
Yeah.
before they even have a chance.
Yeah.
And that is a sad reality because that is what's true,
A
right?
hundred percent.
100%. A lot of people find themselves unwilling to make a dedicated action,
Hmm.
oath to themselves in essence, that allows them to just do something that's going to work out in their favor over the long term. People
Hmm.
have a hard time doing that until they realize that they can do it. Literally, like, they can't realize that they can do it. So it's very difficult for people to wrap their head around just being a long term thinker, because
Yeah.
that's ultimately what it boils down to, right?
It is. It is. You can't want it more for somebody more than they want it for themselves.
Yep. Yep.
I tried to. I found myself years ago trying to really sort of like convince people, like getting involved with things like, I don't know if you ever heard of susu, like these
Yes.
like these Caribbean style pooling of
Yep.
monies to blah blah blah. And to me, I never appreciated it, only because it you're not it's just something that if you have the wherewithal and discipline, you could do for yourself.
Right.
You don't have to be compelled to treat it like it's a bill. Every check you giving away $100, $200, depending on how big the pot is or whatever, just so that you can amass something to put it towards a down payment or whatever.
Hmm.
You can do these things for yourself if you are willing to understand what these things are about without having to deal with some third party nonsense. And I'm
Right.
not saying susu necessarily is nonsense, because there's people who have different thresholds in how they do things, and
Yeah.
it's
Some are good,
beneficial.
but not all
It's
of them are.
not all of them are, and how people run, take care of them and things of that nature. But when it's about wealth building, it's a personal type of to me it just seems like it's just been a personal strategy, because not all strategy, not all formulas fits everybody. So
Right.
but you have to be serious about something on some
Yeah.
level, and stick to it long term to achieve some results. Like I did some major mistakes because I'm first generation Haitian American, and my parents didn't really, like, you have to wing it on your own out here, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Ain't no
and
instruction,
that,
ain't no
they,
guidance, ain't none of that.
no, none of that in finance, economy, social. You got to deal with all kinds of social ills, blah blah blah. And now it's about wealth building. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm
There's
not even ready for that shit. I'm still figuring
right.
everything else out.
Their construct was different than ours. We trying to make sense of whatever, but we
Nonsense.
know, you know what I mean? Like, how do you prosper?
Right.
How do you prosper? You can't. You got to do, because Social Security ain't it. That's not the plan. The pension,
Nah.
401k.
All of that is just another susu, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It
Exactly,
is.
with
It
a
really is.
minuscule interest rate. Susu is no
Yeah.
interest, but these things, 40 years, you get a little 20, 40, 50%, you won. After
Right.
40 years, you did something. Nah, man, no, we not. 8% of years are winning stocks.
Right.
That is disrespectful in over here. Like, what we
Right.
that means you have to toil 50 years and still, like you said, not be able to retire because you didn't amass enough to live off. You still got to work,
Yeah.
and you
A lot of people facing that reality right now.
no discipline, no conviction, no plan, no long term anything. It's about YOLO. Let me live for today,
Mhm.
and I'll forget
True.
about everything tomorrow. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lack of gross miseducation taking place here, and unwillingness to challenge themselves. Because after, I don't believe in, when you reach a certain age, you're just too old to change. I don't
Yeah,
believe
no,
in that. And
that's definitely not true. I've changed a whole lot. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, nah, that's not true.
you know, the times are changing. Our bodies change every day. How are you unwilling to change your
Word.
mindset? Like,
Exactly. And what's crazy is that, the information is out there for you to latch on to and really try to understand what you're missing. Because, when things are not going right, you got to understand it's you.
right,
It's not the world, it's not the universe, it's you that is off. And it's hard for
100%.
people to accept that, but yo, that's what's true. So if you like look at these headlines, right? The BOJ fiasco. What was the BOJ fiasco? Well, we'll go into that once we look through some charts so you guys can understand. But long story short, they're putting some serious pressure on their local constituents, the people in the Japanese economy. Now we all know central bankers have no constituents, but that's how they try to talk. So, anyways,
Um, mhm.
yep, exactly. More strikes. Detroit automakers to pay striking workers about $100 a day. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but
I
they
don't know.
doing it. Yeah, they doing it. India swaps Russian crude for Saudi oil as discount dwindles. Oh, but they still not paying in dollars. We estimate non-farm payrolls rose by 195,000 in October, above the expectation of 180,000, and reflecting a 225,000 underlying gain, offset by a bunch of nonsense, right? Because if it
Wow.
was good, just say it was good, yo. You don't gotta
Right,
write all that.
right.
So clearly it wasn't that.
TLDR.
Yeah, clearly it ain't that good, bro. That's all you gotta say. You know what I mean? And the funny thing is like analyzing the real world is not harder than that.
Right,
Real talk. Because
100%.
we all speak the same fucking language. When
Yeah,
things don't make sense, something's off.
yeah,
And that means red alert, red flag, something. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
and that's really how it really works. That's how you know there's something to sniff on over there. Let's peek under these covers.
Right.
And that's how I learned A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It like there's nobody pointing anything out here. There's
Correct.
nobody. You already learned that the hard way. Ain't nobody out here giving you no tips, no pointers, no nothing. Like
Right.
you gotta figure it out. Everybody isn't out here doing what Wales is doing and doing what we're
Right.
doing, Post Nation and all of that. Everybody ain't doing that. Everybody isn't
Right.
trying to provide relative guidance that might or might not make sense to you
Right.
because it's really long term thinking is all we're trying to talk about here. It really isn't
Hmm.
anything else.
Hmm.
It really isn't. Let's see here. Bulls, bro. That's an article. Yeah. So these links, I really hate them because they look like pictures. So you better believe they getting all kinds of clicks, right? Like their numbers is looking sick right now because they
Wow.
look like pictures. Yeah. So it's gonna trick people into clicking on links on mobile or wherever it is, thinking it's a picture and it's not.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what's going on, bro. They layering the scams in all manner of ways. And you don't even realize you're being scammed.
Hmm.
Because how is that not a scam?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. This is wild, bro. Authorities in Gaza announced that the Israeli military has controlled and cut off all roads leading North Gaza to South Gaza, including the coastal road. Everybody sees what's going on, so I don't even need to comment. Bank of Japan is brewing a storm. Yeah, we're gonna get to that, and yeah, I mean this image of the percentage of GDP, the debt as a percentage. That's what this image is. I already know. I don't even gotta click on it because they always talk about it. But it's one of these things that it's like, yeah, and what?
Uh-huh.
Because look at what the market has. Like the stock market has gone up with these values. So who cares?
Right.
That's where we're at. So
Wow.
yeah. Oh yeah. The stock market ain't sweating it, bro. The stock market is up almost 2% today. Today.
Really?
Just today. Oh yeah. Just today. Yup. That's right. Don't even make no sense, but that's what's happening because it don't look like that outside.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. And
So
you
when
would
do you think they're gonna put back turn on the money printers again, Wells,
well,
in
that's
your
the
opinion?
thing. I think they want the market to perceive them as being turned on because what matters is perception,
Right.
nothing more. And
Wow.
that's difficult for people to latch on to. People are really, and I mean, look at this. This is interesting because I didn't know that a short term level for. So what is this saying? This is saying that the S&P 500 E mini contract is 5 points away from reaching. Uh, oh no, I'm sorry. 5 moves away from TTA long term trigger. Then things are moving fast. So at this point in time, 12:51. Let me see what the price was. Oh, I think that was a shot. Uh, yeah, price was about 43.22. So what this is saying is apparently at approximately the price of 43.25 or so, uh,
Mhm.
he expected a pop in price, or whoever wrote this, right? To these specific levels. Now, right now, and we're gonna skedaddle over to these charts in a little bit, but the market is about seven points away from this short-term target already. And the interesting thing is that before the market even got there, it had already ran 50 points.
Mm.
And taking into account yesterday's open, shit, we're 80 points up, about 80 to 70 points up. So it's been a hell
Mhm.
of a day for quote unquote, for what's described as quote unquote bad news, right? Because the
Right.
Fed keeping rates at 5% is supposed to be a bad thing, right? But
Right.
what's happening in reality is that they're trying to transition capital flows into perceiving a higher level of interest rate as normal. But the conflict with that is the economic reality of that cost in real time. Like
Uh-huh.
your theory is fucking up the world, homie, basically.
Right.
Because they're not used to doing real world shit. They used to just being theoretical, and that's why they're basically getting away with it because people understand that. But they don't understand they got to do something to stop the train from hitting the wall.
That's
And
crazy, man.
yeah, that's very crazy. So check this out. A one touch USD JPY option with 130 strike expiring at the end of the first
Right.
quarter of 2024. So that's 6 months from now. Is priced at 25 to 1. That's what this means. Now, that's how out of whack volatility is with respect to rates because all this stuff is tied to interest rates and the perceived reality of them moving forward, right? Because that's what's difficult for people to wrap their heads around at first is how is the market going to perceive this thing, right? And this
Uh-huh.
thing is the information that the world is putting out. Because why is it that this makes sense right now? Well, it's because the market is out of whack, right? So right now, that's the price. Right
Wow.
now that made sense, yeah, because that's saying if you put up $100, you getting 25. That's saying you gonna get 2,500 back. If you put up 100, you gonna get 2,500 back, right? That's gambling game. That's gambling returns right there. 25
Right.
on a parlay type shit. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
that's a lot of money that people are gonna run to, and it's gonna look like this right here
Right. Right.
because that's what FOMO looks like. When
Mm-hmm.
when things are priced to that juiciness, right? This is what it looks like right here,
Mm-hmm.
and we all know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
A reversal is coming,
Hmm.
right? And that's what we've seen basically all day today. Big old reversal. I mean, look at this nonsense. Bitcoin, and this is from the director of quote unquote global macro for Fidelity. Now, the reason I say quote unquote is because really all they do is buy everything. I mean, they move the
Uh-huh.
market. So, do
Uh-huh.
you really need a director of global macro? Not really.
Right.
But they don't know what to make up in terms of a narrative for Bitcoin anymore. So, this is the latest exponential gold, whatever that
Right.
means.
Right.
Good luck to them. Maybe they'll discover somebody that knows something exists and they'll hire them. Maybe.
Right. Right. Right.
Oh man, let's see. More information that we're sure is not true. Alrighty. Beyond Me slashes outlook as fake meat demand falls. Imagine that. Who would have guessed that?
Right.
Nobody, apparently.
So let me ask you a question, Matt.
Shoot.
You said about uh the perceived
Reality.
way, reality, the way that people, they just do things intentionally to mislead in a sense. That's just how I'm interpreting it, right? Because they're scholars, because they're
Yeah.
scholarly and they're not connected.
Yeah. Yeah.
They get away
So
with that. Like,
yeah. So this is why I was saying earlier that 2% target, right? They keep saying their inflation target is 2%. Let me ask you something. Does it look like things are only up 2% to you? Right? And of course not. Of course they're
oh,
fucking skyrocketing like it's retarded.
oh man.
Yeah. Yes. So what happens is that it's really an information pull on the market. The Fed's job is to lull the market to sleep every time it cries.
Wow.
And I don't know if the goal is to price everyone into the poorhouse or crash everything. But it's the same difference
Mhm.
ultimately because it's going to have
Mhm.
the same impact.
Mhm.
Unless you're owning assets, you're screwed, right? And how many people know to do that? Damn near 0%.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, I remember, bro. I'm never gonna forget this because it's never ever. It's just burned into my mind. Like these specific occurrences in 2009 when we was at the bottom
Mhm.
and around the bottom, and you would see certain people saying certain things on TV and how they would say it, and it's like they couldn't tell you, yo, you better fucking buy because they're about to rip it. But
Yeah.
they knew,
Yeah.
they knew, but they couldn't say it because they don't see NBC and shit.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And the feds is watching, so they can't say it out
Right.
loud,
Not financial advice. Right.
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 Exactly. That's where that comes from, by the way. That is where that comes from. Not crypto. Crypto, that shit ain't relevant to crypto,
Right.
actually, because there is no jurisdiction for them here.
Right.
So whatever. Anyway, whole nother thing. Um, so understanding that, right? That's how you're able to assess. Cause for the longest time, brother, I asked myself, what do these motherfuckers do?
Yeah.
Because it was so much so that I wanted to become one. Hell, might
Right.
still do it because I'm bored and got nothing else to do. Who knows? We'll see. But thing
Right.
is, what do these cats do? Why do they matter? Why does everybody hang on their nuts when they don't know anything? They don't,
Mhm.
right? Like if you look at their timing, they're always off. If you
Mhm.
look at anything that they do, say whatever, they're always off. They're never on. So
Jim
why?
Cramer and them. Yeah.
Oh yeah, all of them,
Jim.
right? All of
All
them.
them. Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Why do all of them matter?
Yeah.
They matter somehow. They're always giving out misinformation, yet they're never taken off the air. They're always kept there. And here we go. 6 hours ago, tweeted out greater than 43,000. Right now,
Hmm.
let's go to these charts and see what's crack-a-lacking over there. Because now we can make sense of the price action, right? Because just being able to look at a chart ain't doing shit for you
Right.
if you're not understanding what and why, right?
Right.
Because that's just one piece to the puzzle. Let's see here. All right, I'm guessing everybody sees that. Mm, all right. So what you're looking at right now is a price of a 10-year interest rate futures contract. And today it is up. This is just a hourly or hour and 30-minute chart. So this is the beginning of the day right here, like 7 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. Scroll down. So here's 6 a.m. and the market basically took off right all day. It's been doing nothing for the past few hours, but that's just how markets go. Oh, this was from yesterday. So it took off from yesterday. Today is here, and it's recovered. So the thing is, not so much that it's recovered is the fact that the short-term market is in control. Short-termers are in control of the market. Is basically what this chart is showing today,
Okay.
right? Because the market is still up overall. It's not down, right? We're still up. We broke out of this channel. If anything, if we break these levels here, immediately above 5% in the rate on the rate side of things, and right here in price, which is 107. We're gonna come down and touch the top of this channel, and that's standard, right? We're gonna retrace, bounce, and continue upward, and that's all that is. Um, so that's standard. That's just how markets basically get in. The short termers and the long termers always standing. They're buying up here, right? They're not worried about a little downdraft to 106 and a half or anything like that. They're looking for this move that you're about to see on this chart.
Mm.
This is a daily chart. So if you look at this chart, you got negative divergence. You got the MACDs is all types of upward sloping, while price is all types of downward sloping, right? And that's classic negative divergence or positive divergence, excuse me, because we're looking for price to go upward. Hold on. And if you look at the RSI, same deal. Positive divergence and even volatility. Like the price action is so real that even vol is up. So, or down, excuse me. Because volatility goes up when price goes down. So volatility is becoming subdued. And this is really the key indicator for me anyway, and how I like to look at things because I can make sense of that. So why do I like to lean on volatility for the end of a trend? Primarily because that should spell the sign exhaustion, basically, right? So if an indicator that like volatility is high, which on the way I have it set up is down here, that means that you should look for a price to kind of teeter out or slow down or something. And once it starts fading off like this after a big down move like that, because this is a daily chart, you know, this is $11,000. I'm sorry, $13,000 per one contract in a matter of 6 months. If you held that, you know, that's a lot of dollars
Wow.
for the value of this contract for just one. It's like 2,000, maybe $1,500. So you made a 10x on your capital easy,
Wow.
just holding this short. So, you know, people that are caught short right now, they gotta wait and see what the market's gonna do, and they need to hope for a pullback to this area to allow them to get out before it continues. Because as of now, it looks like it's gonna continue
Mm.
because it ain't selling off yet. And you don't have RSI below this mid band, which is what you typically want to see when markets are ready to sell off and when they do. So if you look here, right, when the market sold off back in early October, that RSI was under that 50. It was under that band.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that here. So a whole nother situation. So odds are we continue higher. And you know, that's a complete shift in the mind frame of the market because the market, what do you think it's been doing? This is 2 years in one chart right here.
Mm.
Yeah, and this is 30 points, so 30,000 in dollar terms when it only costs about 15 to 2,500 the whole time to hold that position.
Wow.
So think about that. What's the opportunity cost there? There's almost none. This is optimal, right? You don't want to
Right.
let this short go. And it's the damn near the same thing. And in fact, the risk reward is probably better on a 30-year instrument because you make more dollars per tick. So what that means is, let's just draw this out right quick. Hold on. Is it this one? I always forget what the thing is. Here we go. So let's say you got short 174, which was in 2020, right? You caught that perfect top. Now a lot of people are short. Like a lot of people are short because you got to realize something. We're talking about a derivative market. There's an
Mm-hmm.
actual cash market also that drives prices. And that's the one that people don't really think about much. That's the one you got to focus on. If people are short, right? So if people are short and they made 64,000 per contract, and let's say on the expensive side it cost them 5,000 to just hold that position. That's a 10x on their capital again. Really more than a 10x, right? It's really more like a 1.2x or whatever. Because
Mm-hmm.
they made 60 G's, 60 and a
Mm-hmm.
half, 65, whatever. Because you held from 74 all the way down to 107. That's almost 60 G's.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's not a little bit of money, right? So the idea is what's going to scare people out of being short because there was already a scare here, right? There was already a scare here. and then there's been a scare here. So what's the guarantee that this isn't not just a scare? Well, right now we're looking at a 3-day chart. So for now, what's keeping it quote unquote safe is a move down, or excuse me, up to 119 on this
Mhm.
instrument, right? Which is just like a 2%, 3% move from here. Let's see. Nothing crazy. I was way off. 7, 8%. Oh no, I'm not. Hold on. 5.5%. So that's the distance between relative safety and perceived risk as far as the people that are exposed to higher rates, right? Because they want the price to keep going down if they're exposed to rates going higher. But the
Mhm.
idea here is that the market tone has shifted such that now the market thinks it's okay for stocks to continue higher because that is what's allowing people to be able to dump dollars
Mhm.
because that's how capital flows. It's not just a click of a button. There has to be a reason for people to say, all right, I'm getting out of this thing or that thing to then put my money, which is dollars, into this thing so I can make more dollars.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's how markets work, literally. So ultimately, what happens is that these persons, entities, whatever, institutions, they trade big enough that they have enough capital that they're allocating the crypto. They can open crypto books. They can do this. They can do that. And that's why now they're looking at this market and saying, or creating structures, which means that they're creating investing vehicles,
Mhm.
and they're dictating whether they're going to buy Bitcoin or not, whether they're going to buy
Mhm.
Ethereum or not, whether they're going to buy Ripple or not. And I'm seeing the documents as they come through. So this is not something that I'm making up because I did a Google search. Like this
Wow.
is private information. These
Right.
companies are being formed, and they're
Mhm.
not going to be buying the boomer coins. They're not buying them.
Right.
So everybody that's stuck on those boomer coins, good luck, because that's going to be left to the Fidelities in them of the world, Vanguards, those trillion
That's
dollar
right.
size companies that can afford to buy all your Bitcoin because you don't get what's going on,
That's right. That's right.
or paper that market and suppress it, which is more than likely what's going to happen because they want it to be like gold. I don't think that comment is a mistake. Think about it. Because why is the price of gold only $2,000 when we know inflation is at an all-time high? That doesn't even add up all by itself, right? So it's all those things that I'm like trying to connect and show how they're related. You can't have one without the other, right? And
Mhm.
inflation is a function of several things. Prices going up in the most advanced economy, right? In quote unquote history. I mean, we look like Venezuela right now.
Damn.
Yeah, like look at your cost of living. How much better, how much cheaper is your cost of living now versus last year? It's not. In
It's
fact,
not.
it's crazy expensive. And everybody in the developed world can make the same claim. And that's exactly why I can say things like we're looking like Venezuela right now, because that's true. Because that isn't supposed to happen in a developed economy. It's not.
We
If
need
it's developed,
the wheelbarrows. You know.
apparently, yeah,
Yeah.
apparently.
Oh,
But
that's
but but
crazy.
yeah, but that's the thing. Like, think about it, yo. How does it make sense that a gallon of milk costs 5, 6, 7, $8?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? How does it make sense that a meal costs 20?
Yeah.
Right? But yet the minimum wage as dictated by the very people that are quote unquote there to do the job, they say you're only worth maybe $8 an hour, maybe
Right.
10, 15, whatever. Not even enough to earn to get a meal. And
Yeah.
you definitely ain't eating 3 times a day. You can scrap that.
Right.
You better learn to eat 2 times a day, and if you strong and you good, you get by on one, homie.
That's right. Ration. You
Ration
better
that shit. Yeah.
ration your food.
Yo, it's real out here, man, and people they
Yeah.
don't know. They think 3 meals a day is standard for a lot of people, and it's not.
That's not.
Unfortunately, especially in the environments we come from, it's just not standard. That's why a
Uh-uh.
lot of people are skinny and malnourished, and they
Mhm.
and they fall apart. Especially when they join things like the military, where they find out they breaking ankles easier, whatever the case is. Like, it's just some shit that don't make no sense because you ain't never had no problem with it. And
Right.
then all of a sudden you got a problem with it, and you're like, what the hell's going on? It's impossible.
Right.
So how do you make sense of that? You damn near can't, right? You damn near can't. And these are things that like they're difficult for people to make sense of them.
Right.
Because nobody's out here pointing it out and saying this is why. And in many ways that can't be done because
Mm.
people are not willing to accept that because it's not coming from a certain source, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's the catch 22 when you think about it, is that this specific information, what if I was Bill Gates? Everybody
Right.
would be running for the hills saying where my money at, why my shit is
That's
worth
right.
trash, right?
That's right.
But that's not, if I was Warren Buffett, same deal. But I'm not them dudes, so nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, nobody's saying, well, let's verify if this clown is even half right.
Hmm.
Nobody's even doing that. Instead, let's just pay more. Fuck it.
Right. Right.
like it don't make no sense. Like it's in your face.
Yeah. Yeah. It's obvious. It is in your face. Like
It's in your
hiding in
face.
plain sight. Like it's just right there.
It's right there.
But I think, you know, Wells, there are more people, believe it or not, who I believe are learning behind the scenes and are understanding what you're teaching in the sense where, because you can't be the only person out of 8 billion people. You know what I
Ain't no
mean?
way.
Like,
Ain't no way. Ain't no
there's no
way.
way.
I'm ain't no way. I've
You
learned a
know?
lot from others too, right? So we
Right,
know that I'm
right,
not.
right.
But it's not spreading fast enough that it doesn't seem like that.
Yeah,
And that's the problem. Because we can tell people are waking up,
yeah,
but there's still a but at the end of that. And that's the problem, right? I think the
yeah.
problem is that there's a but at the end of that still. Because
And
we
I
don't.
think that's gonna be there for a while. That butt ain't going anywhere
Right,
because it's
right.
been here.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Like,
Yeah,
we want that butt to disappear, but
yeah,
I'm still saying
nah,
but.
yeah, yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? I'm still
yeah.
saying but, so I don't
Eh,
know. All we can do is try to continue to relay the message and
yeah.
hope that people pick it up because it's out there. If you're looking, you can see.
You can see
You can see.
in your face. Like it's not. It's like you
It's
said, and it's not as hard that we would like to believe it is too, man. It's not as complicated. We make shit complicated more than necessary in
hundred
some
percent.
cases, you know.
Oh, 100%, brother. I learn how to think in order to understand the things I'm able to teach
Yeah,
because
facts.
they're not. We're not supposed to be able to think clearly.
Uh,
We're not.
mm.
Like we're not supposed to be winning in any capacity,
In
like
any facet.
in any
Mm-mm.
fashion, and people have a hard time accepting that because they see so many people winning, and it's like, yeah, but that ain't you. That's not your win, homie. That's not for you.
Right.
Like you're not allotted that. Like that's not for you.
Mm-mm.
Excuse me. I gotta exit the position. Like
Mm-mm.
that's just not for you.
Mm-mm.
And these are things that people have a hard time really rationalizing, not accepting,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that but so and so, this and that, not understanding all the levels and layers of fuck them that go into these narratives,
Mm-hmm.
because that's ultimately what it boils down to. I mean, it's almost like they want you to believe that you can achieve certain things that you just cannot achieve, and then the things that you should be focusing on achieving, you won't even care to look that way.
Right. And what they want you to believe that you can achieve has to be on their terms,
100%, yeah, 100%,
to
not on
whatever they
yours.
design,
Right,
not yours.
right, and then what happens is that you end up discovering that that was a lie.
Yeah. And a waste of time.
Yeah, because well, never mind that. Because let's say something you want to do.
Right.
Fuck the implications. Because at
Right.
the end of the day, we still here. We gotta do something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's something I've come to terms with lately in a major way.
Right. You
Like,
gotta do
yo,
something.
I could be retired and all that, but guess what? I'm one bored ass dude, so I need to do something. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna find something to
Right.
do. And I've been keeping myself occupied like crazy lately. But
Right. That's good. That's
you
good.
gotta like, you not just gonna sit there and vegetate watching TV. Like, that's not
Right.
reality.
No.
Like, people will get tired of that so quickly. And I don't care who you are, you will. You can
Right.
force yourself to not, tolerate the real world and succumb to that, but ultimately you're gonna be one depressed motherfucker.
Mm-hmm. For real.
Right?
100%.
Yeah. I mean, yo, it's
I've been
bananas, bro.
I've lost jobs in my life, and I've been unemployed, and I'm thinking, oh man, because sometimes in my former jobs, some of my old jobs, I hated them so bad, I would, wish. I'm like, yeah, I wish I was on blah blah blah, and then when it would happen,
Right.
and then I'm on unemployment for like a little bit too long, I'm losing my mind. I'm like, yo, what the what's this? What
Yeah.
do we? No, 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 no. Like I learned my lesson, man. Like
That's
you,
right.
I have to be just for me and my own sanity. I have to be doing something productive, like on
Right.
some level, or you're gonna wither away. And it's just this is what solitary confinement does to a person. That's why it exists in the penal system, to break
Correct.
people down. Once they
Correct.
got your mind, they got everything,
Yeah,
And
but no,
once
that's
your mind
that's
goes, the
that's
body
what they
follows.
do. But that's what they do to people in the military. They
Right.
they confine you from your normal surroundings, your normal
Yeah.
life, so that they
Yeah.
can break you down and mold you into whatever they want you to be. It's the same
Yeah.
deal.
Crazy.
It's yeah, and that now let's look at this dollar yen. This is the futures
Mhm.
contract, and as you guys can see, it's 149 uh dollars for every yen. So if you go to
Mhm.
Japan as an American, you might think you're balling, but it really depends on the cost of whatever you're purchasing, right? Because
Wow.
if you got 100 yen, that's really 149,000 yen. Or I'm sorry, $100 is really 149,000 yen, because it's just 149 times 100.
Hmm.
Simple, right? So that's basically FX, currency exchange. And while you don't see what you're seeing here is 1 over something that says 6J. That 6J is just a contract code, futures contract code for um, the JPY. That's all that is. So, oh, I'm not even showing y'all anything. I thought I was sharing the damn chart.
Oh man, my brother,
Whoops. No
I
doubt,
have
homie.
to do my yeah, man.
Good. I'm
Appreciate
about
you,
to
man.
wrapping it
Salute
up
to
in
the
a few.
chat too.
Thanks for coming through, man. Thanks for coming through. I
Anytime.
appreciate you stopping through.
Thanks
Peace.
for having me.
Of course, homie.
Peace.
All right, we're getting towards the end of this, my people. We're about to look at this dollar yen, and this is the futures contract. So for every 1 yen, you're getting for every $1, you're getting 149 yen as of right now. So if you multiply by 100, that's 149.476 times 100. All right. Let's see if I can pull up a calculator just to prove it to you. You can't see it, but I'm doing the math, and oh, my math is off. 14,900. My zeros are always off. I don't know why I suck at that, but go figure. So yeah, 14,900 is what you get if you got $100. 14,900 yen, which admittedly is not a lot from the little that I do know about Japan. So, um, yeah, this currency move is pretty dastardly. And how can I make that claim? Well, if you look at this chart, back in 2008, the price of the Japanese yen went as low as 67 yen for $1. And at that point, the Bank of Japan intervened such that it drove the market to where it is now, today. And the last time it got this high, they smacked it down. And this was, as you guys can see here, in October 2022. But, and they tried again in July, right? Like, this is what they do. But now things are really out of whack because now we're seeing 150 getting encroached on. And of course, they're doing their best to suppress the price. But, it's just not that simple. And, let's go to the actual spot because I just want to make a point. Um, because this has happened in this market before. Shoot, hold on. I was trying to go back to the oldest data set. Might be this one. Let's see here. Yep. Um, Man, apparently I've been here before. All right, let's see. So, point I'm trying to make is as follows, and this is very prescient because these are things that are very important to understand about markets and how they function and how they can always go higher than you think or lower than you think, right? Just like we witnessed with X, nobody thought it was going to do a 99% retracement, but all that did was just provide you with an opportunity if you understand the bigger picture, right? So this is the dollar yen. So for every dollar, you get 150 yen, right? This is what's happening right here. Um, we were at this level at the height of the crisis in terms of global stresses or realm-wide stresses, excuse me. Um, and for the longest time, going back to the 70s, right, all the way through the period of the Plaza Accord, um, this market was called the Widowmaker because everybody was always calling the bottom. Everybody. So much so that when I entered the game in the late 2010s, I knew about this trade. I mean, this is one of the first things you were learning when I was coming into the game. That's how drastic and how many people got cleared out by this move. Now, that's a beautiful anecdote to just highlight how the market could literally just do the whole complete opposite thing and go the other way and retrace this whole move, and everybody would just want to fight it the whole way because it doesn't make sense. Not understanding that capital flows is what determines what matters and not what makes sense. Because if you look at this, right, what do you have? A negative divergence, right? And a hidden divergence are extremely powerful. Let's see here. And the reason they're powerful is because nobody in the market is paying attention to them. They're not obvious, right? And the things that aren't obvious are always dismissed by the majority. And that's where you find the success. I mean, I've tried to relay this as many ways as possible. And here we could also see the divergent volatility on a long-term basis. Now, this is 34 days per candle. So essentially 34 days of price action. So it's not a little bit. Um, So the momentum behind the move on a chart like this is not anything to be scoffed at, right? So we've got our bottom in, and we've gotten our right our leaning shoulder, right? This is typically the move that cements that we have officially bottomed on a longer term basis. And the reason that is, at least in my mind, is because we already had price stop and go and then reverse to shake out the weak hands that don't believe in a long term trade, to the point that it even made a new low, shook whoever didn't believe for real then out even further, because the market is really about max pain. And now it's going to force all these people that don't believe in this move through 160, 155 to then have to buy in at those levels. And that's really going to flip the market, right? Nobody's ready for that, right? Everybody thinks the dollar's done, right? But those are going to be the things that are going to set things on flip mode, right? And have people like flip their wig and completely change their stance and all this and all that, because that's typically how it goes. Things always look a certain way and then they end up being another, right? And it's our job as market participants to stay current with the flow and not be cemented with a specific point of view, right? And I talk about this all the time. This is why I try to help people understand that, Hex is the trade for now. Until something else comes along and replaces that potentiality, there isn't any other potentiality. It's literally just that one thing, because that is how markets work. They work in cyclical form. So as of right now, that is the thing that's going to allow the market to cycle through the Bitcoin, the Ethereum, the meme coins that are made popular by the narrative makers. But underneath all of that, right, there's going to be a top performer that nobody's talking about. Hell, there might be a few. And I'm not even just talking about Pulse Chain, right? There might be something else we don't even know about because we're not looking. And that's the thing. Are you looking? Right? A lot of people aren't looking. They just make the claim that they are. So, it's just about understanding the market, where it's at, what your position is, why is it there. Like yesterday, this looked like it was going to puke. Like this market was really going to succumb to the momentum and how it looked. But I recognize that what you could see, and the reason I'm able to see these things is because I like to use these line way of looking at things, because it really highlights the closing prices and it doesn't allow you to miss anything. So you see that negative divergence again, right? And this is ultimately what you want to see. Like these are the great trades because everybody's thinking one thing: market going down, right? That's what everybody's thinking because that's what the market looks like right now, right? If you look at this, excuse me. Ah, ah. If you look at this, it even looks weak on an RSI basis, looks weak on a MACD basis. However, volatility quasi rolling over, right? So that could signify a pickup in vol, but that's at this point in time. So when you see something like that, you got to zoom in. And then what do you end up seeing? Oh, volatility is actually flattening out. So let's zoom in a little bit further. It's flatter, right? Like to the point that it's clearly horizontal, right? Even if it's dripping a little bit, it's still horizontal, right? Because it's about the incidence, right? Or the rate of change. Excuse me. And as of right now, right, if we're looking at the price action is showing a hidden divergence within what seems to be like a flag as of right now. Now that could change, but it's important to understand what's happening right now because we went down to $80 or $79 today, 80 and a quarter. Right at some point today, this market was trading at 80 and a quarter. Could have bought that and been up almost 2,800 right now. Boom. But it's about having an understanding of the bigger picture and how the market is trying to move within that to create a potential pattern. That's how I look at technical analysis because, what's happening? Well, the market could just be filling in gaps, right? To set up for a short move, which is what looks like happened here. Looks like it happened up here, right? Looks like it happened up here also because what happened? Well, the market hit 93, almost 94 during the midst of the start of summer season and then everything that's been happening in the Middle East lately, right? It took it straight to 95 from 85, 75, right? Like it just went straight there. And it ultimately topped out, right? Because that was overpriced. It was like the conflict, whatever's happening over there doesn't justify a $95 per barrel price in a barrel of crude, simply put. So we're now seeing the market digest whatever's happened or happening or could happen because things have only escalated further, right? In the Middle East, things are not really toning down. They're really ticking up and slowly, unfortunately. So these are things that are important to understand, mainly because sometimes understanding the underpinning of the tone of the market will help you set aside your biases and look at things objectively, right? Because what if you're leaning on the side of, nah, man, this thing looks really, really weak, blah, blah, blah. But, inherently, there's all this structural risk in the market. The market might even be short or whatever have you. I don't know if crude market is short or not, but it's something that you should be wary of if you're trying to get short. Is the market heavily short already? If it is, then you probably want to steer clear until the market gives you an indication that it is safe to enter short, right? And that might be with another rejection at 87, 83 and a quarter, right? That might be it. It might not be. You don't know. Maybe the market is just grinding out that negative divergence to sucker people into this short, right? Because that's how markets work. They like to provide max pain. And this is why these flags happen, right? People make money, they cover, then they get comfortable, right? Make money, cover, make money some more, cover some, make money some more. Super comfortable. So now it's time to put the nail in the coffin, right? And then that's typically how markets move. So now all the people that were caught short are now forced to get long. And this is what drives these types of moves in the market. And that's I don't know what you call that, but that's analyzing what's actually happening. That's technical analysis, that's market analysis, that's fundamental analysis, that's everything analysis, right? So it's possible. Anybody can do it. It's just a matter of you wrapping your head around all the moving pieces and why they move how they move. Because this information is out there. If the dollar's weak, that means that the stuff that goes up when the dollar's weak got to be strong. And as you guys can see, that's typically everything else, except for commodities, apparently, unless you're going to go buy them in a store, clearly. So yeah, I think this was a good stream, guys. You guys understand that ultimately all this stuff, where is this shit? Pulse chain is doing what it does. I don't even, I don't know. This is, in case people don't understand, Pulse Chain was released and Pulse X, they were released as minimum viable product releases. So what that means is that you should expect no communication until this thing is completely done from RH. I don't know why that's not obvious to people, but yeah, like that's what's happening. Same thing for PLSX. It's just how it goes. Minimum viable product. So if you're down out here selling your bag at the lows, you messed up. You played yourself, right? Because ultimately, the market is going to price itself correctly. It has to. That's how markets work. It's not really up to you. If you sell at a bottom because you don't understand what's going on, that's on you, man. That's why educating yourself is imperative. This is Hex on Pulse. I mean, look, you guys got to understand my perspective when it comes to specific markets. I think that speculating in crypto on an active basis is moronic. This is why I don't talk about projects. This is why I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. I let these opportunities like Hex find me. I don't go out there seeking them because they can't be seeked. I wasn't looking for Richard when I found him. Again, I wasn't looking for him when I found him the first time either. So you got to take control of your life, your experience within the universe, and all of that. Stop letting other suckers on the internet determine where you put your money. Do your math. You know who's setting the standard, right? And that's ultimately what you got to predicate the decisions you make about the future on. Because what is right is what wins, not what people want to win. And that is hard for people to accept. But they're going to learn eventually because they're not going to really be left with a choice. This is why so many people bought up here. And now they're about to get skull drugged by the market because they were too much of a bitch to buy down here when it costs nothing. So keep that in mind because that is how markets work, folks. Appreciate y'all for coming through. It's always love and peace. But you got to do yourself the favor and give yourself a chance. If you don't put in any work, you don't give yourself a fighting chance. And that's very difficult for people to accept because they think somebody's supposed to hand them something. Nobody's supposed to hand you anything. But you can hand yourself everything. That's something that, takes time for people to accept. But once you get there, life is the best. Peace. Right? The reality is that I want to be rich as fuck. There's only one way to be rich as fuck. That's by sitting on your ass the longest. Yep. That's it. Yep. That's the secret. The Godwell told you. Richard done told you. I done told you. Kareem done told you. Maddie done told you. Everybody done told you. Everybody done told you. Shit, motherfuckers still acting like they don't know. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
100% safe. There's plenty of games left.
Valiant done told you. Yo, everybody said it. I mean, hey, you know what it is, man? Everybody done told you. Y'all deep. Everybody. My God.